What's going on, CSTers? Welcome to the big show here this Monday evening. Can't believe it's already February. That means we are that much closer, hopefully, to a Major League Soccer season here in 2021. I am Nick Strubling, pleased to be with you here, as always, on Monday evening. Lots to get to this week. We're going to talk about last week's press conference that FC Cincinnati General Manager Gerard Nightcamp had with the local media to discuss some of the comments he made. We're also going to be joined a little bit later on in the show by new FC Cincinnati attacking winger Calvin Harris, drafted out of Wake Forest University, the proud home of Michael Lahoud. So we'll catch up with him a little bit later on in the show, talk about his thoughts on his experience getting drafted, his experience playing there at Wake Forest, and a whole bunch more here on this show. Of course, if you're watching us live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, we appreciate you so much each and every week tuning in to CST. We'd love your feedback. You can email us feedback@CincinnatiSoccerTalk.com. Get at us on Twitter as well at Cincy Soccer Talk. Let's welcome into the show, making his debut. I guess we can call it a debut, Jeff Tebbets, one of the newest CST contributors here on the show. You know him, you love him. Jeff, welcome to CST. How are you doing?
Hey, Subs. Good to be here. I guess the second time, the first time being a watch along, but yeah, the new car smell is, I can still smell it from here. So yeah, I'm glad to be with you guys, and hopefully we can enjoy a good year of soccer.
Yes, absolutely. We're glad to have you aboard. Tell folks who maybe don't know who you are. A lot of us know you from seeing you at FC Cincinnati matches wearing the cool, fancy suits. But tell folks a little bit about yourself and what you're going to be doing here at Cincinnati Soccer Talk.
Sure. Some of those who have seen me in the suit, I'm a member of Dean and Stott, but I've also written for Orange and Blue Press. So a few of the things you might have seen, maybe a lot of the USL coverage that we had, a lot of the US Open coverage that we had. I tended to plunge right into that. And now I've brought some good expert analysis here. But yeah.
Well, we're excited to have you. Even though you're a Spurs fan, we'll allow it.
Well, yeah, it's it's February 2nd tomorrow, Groundhog's Day, and we're all Spursing all over again. So it's just happening again.
We're really glad and thankful that you're a part of CST. We're glad that you're going to be hopping on board here on the podcast every so often this season. And of course, looking forward to what you'll be writing over on the website over at CincinnatiSoccerTalk.com. I'm also pleased and thrilled to have back to the show the Wolfman.
Bill. Hey.
Bill, how you doing, buddy?
I am doing great. Yeah, it's been a while. Gosh, I've been so busy. Life is like that, new job and everything, and lots to learn. So yeah, I'm sorry I haven't been around as much, but glad to be back here today, and glad to see soccer happening. So
hopefully soon, right?
Yeah. Well, I'm always positive. You know me.
So. Positive Bill. That's what we call him around these parts here at Cincinnati Soccer Talk. Looking forward to getting your thoughts as well as a member of the Pride, a part of the board there. Yep. You part of the focus, or you and a lot of the different supporters groups that are fans of FC Cincinnati put out some statements today regarding Let Them Play, which we will touch on a little bit later on in the show as well. So looking forward to getting your take on that. And last but certainly not least, it wouldn't be a show without Michael Lahoud, talking Wake Forest multiple times this week on the show. Michael, welcome back to the show, bud.
Thanks for having me. As always, great to see the Wolfman back. It's been a while. I think my first show is with the Wolfman. So, good to have you back, and looking forward to this special show, near and dear to my heart, and we'll be touching on that in a bit.
Yes, we will. Michael also has some big news as well. Well, maybe we'll touch on that a little bit later on in the show too, Mike.
All right, I'm ready.
All right, let's get to it, shall we? FC Cincinnati's, let's start with Major League Soccer, right? They announced last week that the preseason will be kicking off February 22nd for all clubs that are not involved in the CONCACAF Champions League. And then the regular season, as it stands right now, slated to kick off April 3rd, the first weekend of April. So as a former player, Mike, I got to ask you, I know you've kept you've kept in tune with what's going on with the labor stuff between the union and the owners. How confident do you feel that April 3rd is going to happen?
I feel very confident. The fact that they extended the CBA negotiations, I think what we're going to see is they're going to continue extend the negotiation timeline. Look, at the end of the day, everyone wants soccer back. The owners want soccer back. The owners can't afford to not have soccer played. The players can't afford to not play soccer. This is their livelihood. As a former player, you want to play, and you also want to be treated fairly. And I think extending the negotiation deadline, avoiding force majeure, is in the best interest of everyone. And with FC Cincinnati opening up the new stadium, we're all teeming with excitement to see the players back on the field and circumstances and everything sorted out CBA wise, first and foremost.
It just, I'm not trying to be negative, because Bill, you're positive. I'm trying my best not to be negative here, but it would be so Cincinnati if we build this beautiful palace there in the West End and then there's a hiccup or a delay. And honestly, maybe it helps with the construction. I don't know where we're at timeline wise. Maybe, and I don't want to see a delay in the season whatsoever, but if there's any kind of silver lining, maybe that there's one there, but even that's a stretch.
No, I think you're right about that. I mean, from a standpoint of this club, there's no incentive for us to start right on time, right? I mean, we'll be doing a lot of away games if that's the situation. I think it's pretty clear to most people that, we're not going to be ready April 3rd with the stadium. I don't know that the club has come out and just made an actual number yet, and they probably don't know when that actual date is. But it seems like it's kind of in the May range. And then, of course, how these projects go, they're so huge. Who knows? May, it could be June. And if I'm MLS and I'm making a schedule, I'm certainly probably going to be conservative, right? I'm going to be thinking, let's start home games in Cincinnati in June, so we don't have to worry about the stadium being not ready. So, but who knows? I mean, they'll all come up with that decision. But regardless, I think that doesn't matter to FC Cincinnati. I think this, the season's going to start off. I think Mike's dead on here. It's in everybody's best interest to go. Everybody's going to jostle for positions. Everybody's going to try to take advantage of what's going on now with the pandemic and being able to renegotiate. But yeah, I see this continuing forward. So
how about you, Jeff? You got any thoughts on that opening weekend?
I mean, we've always really started away anyways. You usually had the first 2 or 3 games. I don't believe we've ever had more than or less than 2 games away to start the season. So I think to start the season April 3rd, April 10th, maybe even April 17th on the road doesn't feel like it's a bad deal at all. And if I remember some of the construction for like Portland, they went a full 10 games on the road, 9 games on the road before they actually had a home game.
Yeah.
So
same with DC United a couple years ago.
Yep.
Yeah. So to see them start a lengthy road snap, I wouldn't be surprised, but it does make me concerned that if they have to start on this ridiculous away stretch, 5 games, 6 games, and also worry about COVID on the road, that's something that I think makes me leery of what our first 6 games are going to look like.
How do you feel from a labor perspective? You think this will get done?
I think once again, everyone's like, oh, it's the best, it's best for both sides to get it started and to get it done quickly. But I mean, we've seen these types of negotiations stumble in other sports. And I think there's a lot that we need to give the players, because they're the ones that are really in the end entertaining us. They're the ones that are showing us product. I think it wouldn't be in anybody's best interest to not give them what they deserve.
I think we have 3 weeks, right? I mean, today's the 1st of February. The preseason commences February 22nd. If people show up on the 22nd, then the season goes on time. If the negotiations are still ongoing, if they can't come to agreement, in 3 weeks we'll know, because obviously if the preseason doesn't start on time, then the season doesn't start on time.
Well, I have something to add on that. I think MLS has kind of shown their hand a little bit in terms of the timeline. So when you let's back up the bus a bit. MLS has never been this proactive in terms of CBA negotiations. Usually it's a players union who are banging at the door trying to get the league at the table to talk. And the league has been more quiet, and eventually they start engaging, and then the deal gets spun at the 11th hour. This time the roles have switched, and it's a league who is now being more of taking the initiative with this, and it's the players union who has been more methodical about when to respond, how they respond. I thought their response was great in response to the deal that the league put on the table. And now we'll see what the commitment is on both sides to get back to playing. I think that the fact that they gave a start date for preseason, and they've given now an ideal start date for them to get the league going in April, I think that shows their intent of, look, this might start slowly, but when push comes to shove, we are committed to getting soccer back. And even though this may not look like a fast start in terms of negotiation and conversation, we want to get this done in a timely manner according to this time frame that we've now given.
Yeah, it's interesting. I thought last year when it was February 6th when the CBA was announced for the 2020 season going forward, and I thought at the time, wow, it seemed early, right? Because in years past, the negotiations, I think the previous CBA, the time before that, got signed, like ratified the day before the season kicked off. And I think that was the same year NYCFC joined Major League Soccer. So, it's going to be interesting, right? A lot of posturing on both sides. Clearly,
100%.
It's a negotiation. It's never pretty. Nobody wants to see how the sausage is made. But hopefully both parties can come together and realize that it's in the best interest of both sides to start the season on time here coming up on April 3rd, especially with everything going on in the world. We need soccer.
Yeah.
We need soccer. The players need soccer. Let's hope that can get rectified and agreed upon here real soon. And of course, if there's any breaking news surrounding that, we'll be discussing it over on the website, CincinnatiSoccerTalk.com. Last week, FC Cincinnati General Manager Gerard Nijkamp held a Q&A session with the local reporters and had some interesting things to say. Still in search of a number 10. A lot of folks had their hopes once again on a 10 from overseas. I think last year it was Believe in Gaston. This year it was Pray for Papu. It didn't happen. Papu ended up going to Sevilla, and what rumored to be a massive deal offered to him to come to Major League Soccer. Nonetheless, they're still in the hunt for number 10, a winger, a center back, and a new number 9, according to Gerard Nijkamp. When you read his comments or watched his comments last week, Bill, what were your thoughts on what Gerard had to say about the build of the club for the 2021 season?
Man, Mr. Positive, challenging sometimes. He didn't say anything wrong, but he didn't say anything different, really. I mean, we've known we want a 10. We've known, we need a center back, and so there really wasn't a lot of new information there. I mean, it's just kind of saying that we still have time, trust the process, kind of in different words. And
no, you did not just drop that.
I did because that was what we heard for so many years. And I don't want to. I mean, at some level, there's nothing wrong with saying trust the process, right? But at some point, there has to be something to come out of it. I'm not in panic mode for sure. I'm obviously trying to stay positive on these things. We have time. There is certainly plenty of time for us to get players. There's also a summer transfer window. I think we're challenged right now. I think Papu is a great example. All indications are that FCC went all in on that one, that they put all their chips on the table. that they offered him, one of the highest salaries or the highest salary in MLS to come here. And the reality is he didn't, right? So what does that say about Cincinnati? What does that say about MLS? I think, a lot could be read into that. Some of it might just simply be that, you want somebody who's, or he wants to be in Europe or he can play in Champions League, right? We can't offer that, period. Some of it could be that there's a lot of uncertainty with the CBA right now. There's a lot of uncertainty with the start of the season. There's a lot of uncertainty in general in MLS. So it's a tough uphill battle for us. And, it may be that we're not going to see what we'd hoped for, but I guess I can't fault the ownership and Gerard for trying. Certainly Papu would have been a huge signing if we could have got it. It would have been exactly what people have been looking for, but we do have to get something over the line. And that's where I'm starting to feel that little bit of anxiousness. So.
Yeah, one of the I guess I shouldn't be surprised yet, but one of the things that jumped out at me in those comments is that he's looking for a number 9. And so if you are reading the tea leaves or trying to read the tea leaves, we have a number 9 in Jurgen Locadia. We think, at least for the season. But are we going to push him out wide? I mean, when you read that, what immediately went through your head there?
It's hard to say what's going through anyone's head right now. I mean, how do you define success from last year where it was sort of stop and start? I still have trust in Locadia. I still think that he has a lot to prove. If I recall a tweet out today, and I don't know how truthful these things are, but it sounds to me like someone had challenged Locadia to go back to his home squad in Europe. And I don't know if that was before or after he had come to FC Cincinnati, but considering he turned that down, it's telling me that he has something to prove, and I want to put that trust into him. In terms of those 4 numbers, the winger, the 10, the center back, and the 9, I really think that the 9 is the lowest in priority on those. I could go another half season with Locadia, and if we get a talented number 10 to fill that spot, then I think the answer, whether or not you need a new number 9, it's sort of moot. If you got somebody who can feed, whether it's Locadia or someone else that you can put there, then I don't think that's as big a priority as the other 3.
I agree.
Michael, we got this question on Twitter. This is from Tyler. He asks, could the lack of signings this window be a thought process from the front office, knowing the lockout will ultimately happen and players don't want to sign for a team in a league that might not even play for months? Are they trying to wait until the summer window? As a former player, put yourself in the shoes of a player maybe potentially overseas trying to come into Major League Soccer and knowing that there is all this strife, labor strife. How difficult is it to get players overseas? Because from a league perspective, if you look at the numbers, the amount of DP signings are way down this year.
Yeah, I mean, 2 things. One, the travel bans. First of all, there's still a pandemic going on, and you've seen a limitation in some of the movement you usually see during transfer windows. I mean, this is one of the most boring transfer deadline days. I think one of the headlines was Liverpool signing someone for less than $10 million. Usually transfer deadline day across the world is something that we're buzzing about. So I think that's one thing, is the reality of a pandemic, and that limits international border movements. And that impacts sports, especially an international game like soccer. And if I'm a GM of a team or a president of a team, I would be hesitant to make a big move just yet because of the uncertainty of what is to come. But a team that is making moves and, spending like they got dollar bills, y'all, is Austin FC. You don't see, I mean, they are spending as if the league is starting tomorrow. They're in line to get, Thomas Pochettino from Argentina, who's a attacking midfielder or can play as an 8, and they could get him for under $4 million. So teams are still spending, teams are still making moves. However, I think because of the uncertainty, that is why you're seeing a slowdown in roster moves, and especially for DPs and high profile players across the pond.
Yeah, I mean, it can't be easy. As Tina in our chat room here says, it's a terrible time to move. I can't imagine many people wanting to come to America right now in the midst of our political chaos and how we've handled COVID. So it's hard to argue that. It makes it really difficult. But you see other teams making moves. It's not just Austin. That team up north, they've gotten better. And they're already champions. So there's also that. So anyway, we'd love to hear your thoughts, regarding what Gerard had to say last week, the lack of player movement coming in to FC Cincinnati. Get in touch with us. Feedback at CincinnatiSoccerTalk.com. All right, it's that time of the show where we give a big shout out and thanks to our tremendous supporters. So let's give it up to Tim Bronsel, Tom Rose, Matt Adamczyk, Mike Hudson, Brian Malone, Jamie Smed, Jonas Tom, Jack Emery, Mike Bowman, Kathleen Francis, Matt Imholt, Matthew Long, Joe Coling, Tara Mullins, Riley, Stephen Burke, and Melissa Bingle. Thank you so much for supporting us here at CincinnatiSoccerTalk.com. To learn more on how you can support the show, head on over to CincinnatiSoccerTalk.com. And joining us now on the CST hotline, it wasn't enough to have just one Demon Deacon on the program today. We had to welcome in another one. He is the second overall pick in the MLS SuperDraft from a few weeks ago. He is Calvin Harris, and he joins us now. Calvin, welcome to Cincinnati Soccer Talk. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. I'm good. Happy to be here.
We're excited to have you on the show. Obviously, when the name was picked, many of us here at Cincinnati Soccer Talk were thrilled. Michael, for obvious reasons. I had my own personal reasons as well. But I guess the first question I've got for you, Calvin, is, leading up to this draft process and maybe watching MLS over the years, how much did you know about the city of Cincinnati and FC Cincinnati as a whole?
Yeah, I guess everything for the most part was kind of new to me. I heard Cincinnati was a really cool place, a big soccer focused place. With the fans being one of the best in the country as well. But I didn't know too much about it. I had to look a bit online after it, and also after the conversations I've had with Hunter. So yeah, I kind of went into it without much knowledge on it.
Had you had a chance to watch many of their matches in the past, or know anything about the team?
I have watched some games, yeah, and been watching the highlights. Even recently now, going back and watching some of the games. Yeah, I'm good.
Calvin, this is Michael here. Being new to Cincinnati and FC Cincinnati, what excites you most about beginning your MLS career and beginning your MLS career with FC Cincinnati?
Yeah, I think one of the main things that is really exciting for me is it's a club that wants to grow, and I think is also deserving of the growth, the fans that they have, and also the effort that they've put in with new facilities, new stadiums, and all that kind of stuff. So it's a place that deserves more, and it's wanting more as well. And also with the new head coach, Jaap Stam as well, being there, it's going to be a place where I'm going to learn a lot for sure, learning off a great player like himself. So lots of things to look forward to. So now I'm just waiting for it.
Good man. Good man. And second for me, I had the pleasure of watching some of your highlight reels, SportsCenter top 10 goals, if you will, at Wake. For the fans that haven't had a chance to see you play, what can we expect from Calvin Harris in 2021?
Yeah, I like to work hard on both ends of the ball. I take pride as well in the defensive side of the game, even being a winger. But I think my main qualities are my desire to go at players, to take players on, to combine with teammates and try and create chances to score goals. So that's what I'm hoping to bring. And I know that there's a lot of learning to do as well to get to a point where I can be effective in the league. Just looking forward to learning now.
When you talk about the learning curve, this year was unlike any other. I remember when I was at Wake and going through a similar process that you're going through and transitioning from college soccer to the pros. What was this year's draft like? There's nothing like the MLS draft. You only get drafted once. So what was your personal experience of the draft?
Yeah, it was a bit weird, as you can imagine, being sat in my locker room at Wake and with my teammate as well, Andrew Pannenberg, and the coaching staff. Also, my family couldn't be there on the day because they're in England right now, in the UK, and they weren't able to fly over with Corona restrictions. But the day as a whole it kind of just went really fast. Got up and got ready, and before I knew it, my name was picked. So yeah, things moved fast, really fast on the day.
One of the things I'm curious about, Calvin, and obviously with everything going on in the world at the moment, everything's different now, right? I mean, even just playing college soccer in the fall was different for you. What was it like trying to finish your season, all the while trying to deal with the pandemic? I mean, what could you do during your free time outside of soccer besides obviously classes and going to training and games? I mean, it had to be tough to kind of distance from some of your teammates, correct?
Yeah, so the distancing was huge, and even when we were doing the precautions, we still got hit at the end of the season, losing 7 players. At the pinnacle point of the season, playing against UVA in the tournament. But as a whole, it was tough. We pretty much would train and do our classes, have a couple of face-to-face classes a week, and then we were just in our rooms, just doing the classes, doing homework, and chilling out for the most part. So there wasn't much socializing with other people at school at all. But at the end of the day, we're still doing what we wanted to do, and that was to play soccer and to try and fight for championships. And it was just a shame that even when we were doing all these precautions, we still got hit, and it affected us greatly. Yeah.
Calvin, when you talk about championships, there is, in my opinion, and I think everyone else's opinion, because it's my opinion, when it comes to college soccer, the ACC is the pinnacle of college soccer. How has playing in the ACC, how do you think playing in the ACC has prepared you to make the jump to MLS and prepared you for FC Cincinnati?
Yeah, I think it's helped me a lot. Moving here was a transition as well. Moving from New Zealand and playing over there to come here was a big change. Not only just playing soccer, but the whole lifestyle of being a full-time student at the same time. It was a lot to deal with when coming in, and there was a transition phase. With my first year coming here at Wake, and by the second year, the year that just went past, I felt as if I found my feet, and that's where I could fully express myself and perform to the degree that I knew I could. So I think the main thing in terms of developing, I think it's the mental side. I've obviously developed with my technical, tactical, and my physical ability as well, but I think the mental side it's the most important part of the game. And I think it's the part that I've learned the most coming here to the States and also playing at the ACC against tough players, week in, week out.
We're hanging out with Calvin Harris, second overall pick in the MLS SuperDraft by FC Cincinnati a few weeks ago. Obviously, we can tell you are not from here, Calvin, with that English accent that you've got. So I'm curious, you've got 2 Manchester United supporters here on this show right now. Is there a team in England that you personally support? I know you've got some ties there to Sheffield United with your dad, but is there a club in England that you followed really closely?
Yeah, I support Arsenal. So my dad's an Arsenal supporter, and on my dad's side, they all support Arsenal. On my mum's side, they support Everton. But
okay.
My dad got in quick and made sure that I was an Arsenal supporter. So yeah.
Fair enough. Yeah, that was an interesting one over the weekend. Did you get a chance to watch Arsenal Man U?
Yeah, I watched the goalless.
Pretty boring, right?
Yeah, it wasn't the best game, but it is what it is. We'll take it.
Is there a particular obviously we've asked this question in the past with other players, if you have a preference, if you had to pick Ronaldo or Messi, which way are you leaning? Two greats, but which way would you lean?
Are we saying who's the better player? Who would I have in my team, or
who would you prefer? Well, I mean, it's hard to say who's better, right? I mean, because they're both pretty good. But like, if you had to pick one player right now, who are you taking?
I'll take Messi.
Okay, Mike.
Over the years, I think I'd go with Messi. Yeah.
Mike, you're shaking your head. Why are you shaking your head, Mike?
Calvin, come on, then. Yap Stam, Manchester United. You got to go Ronaldo. No. I respect that. No, Messi's a genius. Ronaldo wins championships. That's how I see it.
It's neck and neck, to be honest.
Neck and neck. That's fair.
Yeah.
Calvin, question for you. A guy that we both know very well, who played an instrumental part in both of us getting to Wake Forest, Coach Bobby Muse. What are your thoughts on him? Tell us how he impacted you and how he's prepared you for this moment in time.
Yeah, he's been a big part of my time. Sorry, at Wake. I've learned a lot from on the pitch and off it. Tactically, he's taught me a lot as well, and he's worked with me individually on parts of my game that I should improve upon. He's been hard on me as well at times, but that's all part of it, and he's been great. He's been great.
Well, Calvin, in the spirit of the Demon Deacon family, I had a very good conversation with Coach Muse about you in preparation for this interview. We didn't know if FC Cincinnati was going to do what everyone in Demon Deacon country was hoping for, which is to draft you, where a bunch of us here at CST were hoping for as well. And Coach Muse had this to say about you: his commitment to both his physical development and his consistency in both training and in matches has put him in a situation to be successful. His desire to get better and train hard each and every day in a competitive environment has been incredible. He has come so far in terms of his reliability in tough games and shows up each and every day. What do you think of those words from Coach Muse?
Yeah, it's great to hear. It's nice to hear because Bobby can also keep his cards close to his chest in terms of telling you if you're doing really well. He still wants you to not get too big-headed and stuff like that. But to hear that, it's nice to hear.
Well, that's some glowing praise there from your coach there, Calvin. So I gotta ask, because I know a lot of fans are very excited. They're eager and anxious to see you play here in the Queen City. What's the plan now? When will you be arriving to the Queen City? And obviously you got preseason camp just a few weeks away.
Yeah, so the plan right now is to get in to Cincinnati around the 15th of February, so this month. And within that week between the 15th and the 22nd, it'll be to try and find a place to live and sort all that kind of stuff out, see the city, and then get into preseason.
Yeah, the games are going to come thick and fast for sure, Calvin.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, we're super excited to have you in the Queen City. I know Michael is as well. Again, to have another Demon Deacon suiting up for the orange and blue. They have got a proud history, don't you, Michael? It's not just you, but I believe Corbin Bone also played there, didn't he?
Yeah, Calvin, you came to the perfect place. I can tell you that the city of Cincinnati is really excited to have you. FC Cincinnati fans are really excited. There's the rich history of FC Cincinnati having Demon Deacons and former Demon Deacons on the team and being successful. So no pressure now, but I think you will carry the banner more than well. Like I said, I got to watch you play last year and the year before. I think you're an excellent footballer, and I'm really excited to see you grow with this club. And welcome to FC Cincinnati.
No, thank you. Thank you. I'm looking forward to it.
And
And
as
we are-
always, go Deeks.
I knew I couldn't let Mike. I can't let Mike have the last word. I mean, he
I had
can't
to.
shut up about the Demon Deacons. Calvin, we appreciate your time. Best of luck in your move to Cincinnati. And again, we can't wait to see you on the pitch there at the West End Stadium.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
All right. That was Calvin Harris. Really glad he joined us here this week on the CST hotline. Really enjoyed our conversation with him. And you can tell, Mike, he's eager and ready to suit up for the orange and blue this year.
Yeah, before I wish the viewers could see this, but this is homage to Calvin and where he comes from. Just had to rock that a bit.
What Mike doesn't realize is this is an audio podcast.
Yeah.
And, for those listening to the show, Mike literally stands up, puts his back to the camera, and shows us his Wake Forest shirt. So, well done.
No, it was awesome to talk with him and get to know him a little bit more. Obviously, it's one thing when you do your homework on him, and Subs, you and I were pretty big on FC Cincinnati drafting him. I think they made the right choice. The team didn't score goals last year, and you're getting a goal scorer and a guy who scored big goals and highlight reel goals in college. So hopefully that translates over to the professional level with the FC Cincinnati.
Yeah, and I think last week Gerard even mentioned to Bill that Calvin was somebody on their radar. They were gonna pick him no matter what happened at that first spot.
Yeah, which is obviously great when you have your plan and the plan comes together, right? It's like the A team. I mean, obviously if Austin had taken him, that would have been a big problem. But most people were assuming we would go with that number one sort of assumed pick, and we had already done our homework. We already knew what we needed. We had a hole there, right? We've been talking about needs for a winger. So it's silly to go and grab another person when you have a hole, and obviously Calvin fills that hole very well. And we need depth in that position, and he's proven at the college level. So he was a great choice and an obvious one. So
Jeff, were you? I can't remember on our roundtable who you selected that you wanted FC Cincinnati to pick. Do you remember?
I mean, I wanted Calvin Harris.
Okay.
I saw his overall work, and not only that, but also where he's been through the academies. I mean, Hong Kong, New Zealand Premiership, with his dual citizenship, I guess, working with the Deacons. It tells me that he's comfortable no matter where he ends up going. But also my thought was, I was expecting Mayaka to go first. And so when they picked Pereira first, the first thing that came into my mind is, okay, we still want Harris, but let's see if we can sell this, get Mayaka and sell the pick so that we can draft him lower. But my thought has always been, get Harris. We need somebody on the left. We need a winger that would be a perfect complement to Barrial, so that we have two really fresh young wingers that could, I think, grow into this group and become and develop a plan of attack.
And the biggest thing, and a lot of this doesn't get discussed as much as maybe it should, is where this league is trending towards, right? This league is trending towards being a selling league. We saw it today. A lot of young, talented players in Major League Soccer said bye-bye, at least on a temporary basis. We know Jordan Morris. Now Jordan Morris isn't young, but again, overseas to Swansea. Paul Areola, also not young, but overseas. Daryl DK, just drafted a year ago by Orlando. He goes overseas to Barnsley on a loan with maybe a potential buy option there. Now, with him being a generation Adidas player for us, that does make things a little bit more complicated as far as transferring him outside of the country. But, he's still really young, Michael. I think he's only 22, if I'm mistaken.
Yeah, he's same age as my brother, so I should know that age. Look, he's a guy that you get now and you develop. Everything that we've been saying, he's an impact player, and he's a guy that is going to provide goals, and his value hopefully will continue to go up. With goals comes added value, and you take him with the prospect of selling him on And look, let the bookies, let Ken for president. Ken will be able to do the Moneyball stuff in terms of how that stuff plays out in the future. But it only bodes well for FC Cincinnati to do what they did by taking him and using that international roster spot, for someone else. So yeah. I like the pick. It makes sense money wise, and it makes sense soccer wise. So I'm excited to see him grow.
I just looked it up. Not even 21 yet. He will be turning 21 coming up in March. So just before the season starts, he will be turning 21 here in the United States. So still really young. And so, as we mentioned, again, I'm not getting ahead of myself. I want to see this kid play for the Orange and Blue for at least the next 3 years, and we'll see what happens, right? Could he be the next Jordan Morris? Could he potentially move on? And there's a benefit for both the player and FC Cincinnati in Major League Soccer. We shall see. I bring the whole selling league up because this news that dropped a little bit later this afternoon from our good friends over at The Athletic, Paul Tenorio, Sam Stachel, and Jeff Reuter, dropping the bombshell information about Frankie Amaya and FC Cincinnati. Apparently, he had 3 suitors and was commanding more trade value than what the Crew sent to Atlanta to acquire Darlington Nagbe. We're talking a lot of GAM here. Michael, I don't know if you had a chance to see that report, but when you read that and see that, and first of all, I guess the question is, wow, how do they not pull the trigger on that deal? And 2, what do you make of this and the flexibility it could have brought had they moved Frankie?
I think you keep Frankie. A ball hasn't been kicked yet for this season, and there's interest in him, and the team hasn't performed up to par, and there's this much interest in him. Something that someone wrote was, Frankie is a growing player, and he's growing in stature, and sometimes as a young player it benefits you to play on a team for a couple of years that isn't as successful, because you're going to get minutes, and when you play well, that stands out. And Frankie has been solid. For FC Cincinnati to pull the trigger on him now, I think would be a mistake, because you still need him to rebuild this organization and rebuild this team into a successful team. He has a part to play in this team. I see him as being an 8. He could pair with Harris, the old man who could, and he could also pair with Camo in that midfield if they play a 2 at the base of a triangle, or he could play a 3 with those 3 names, or whoever else they want to rotate in there. But I think it would be a bad move to get rid of a player that you actually need, a young player who still has an upside to him that we're seeing grow right before our eyes.
Jeff, that was a pretty big number, though. I mean, what those numbers being thrown about with Nagbe going to Columbus, that's hard to say no to.
Basically, when they brought that number up, it made me say, no, I think we can say no to that. It's sort of unfair to use Nagbe as a comparison here, because when Atlanta dealt Nagbe to Columbus, they had a lot of talent in their tube still. They had people that were ready to step in and take place. They still had loads of talent that could work around that team and fill in that hole. So I felt it was unfair. If you deal Amaya now, who's going to fill that void? You could say Cruz, but Cruz has been injured a little bit. He's sort of been a little unfairly undependable the past year. And I just think it's just way too early to deal him. If you deal him, my girlfriend is going to be mad. She's a big Frankie Amaya fan. If he's gone, she's going to know nobody else on this team.
Yeah, that's a big number, Bill. A lot of folks in our chat, they're saying, and this is a friend of the show, Bjorn, I love that we're investing in Frankie. He's been the only spark the team has ever had. I mean, look, he's a beloved player, the first ever draft pick by FC Cincinnati back in their first year. There's talk of him amongst the U.S. men's national team ranks. I'm not saying he's ever going to be on that top level team, but was with the U20s. could maybe make an Olympic squad. I mean, he's a talented player, but were you surprised to hear that today?
I mean, for me at least, it's a lot of money, and for right now, the club is trying to rebuild. So, to have that kind of flexibility would give them a whole lot of room to do stuff. I mean, I love Frankie, obviously. I mean, I've been a huge fan of him, and I've never shied away from that. But I mean, we don't know what's going to happen to him, this season. I mean, he could basically come up injured. We could get very little production out of him. His value could go down. I don't necessarily see it, but at the same time, it's like, bird in the hand, right? So, I mean, what was it? Nagby was like $1 million GAM.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a heck of a lot of money for us to go out and obviously we're trying to bring in some players. We have Cruz in the middle. I know that he didn't perform. I was not happy with him last season, but we know the quality's there. I mean, he's performed, consistently for Costa Rica for years. So, we have a solid 3 already. At some level, we have one too many central midfielders, and maybe it's time to take $1 million GAM and use that to find that center back that we need. So, I mean, I could definitely see us going that route, and I'm a little surprised that we didn't. I know there was some generation Adidas issues where you don't get back all of your money, but I think I saw Ken kind of filling us in that had changed a little bit, and it's really not as much of a factor this year.
But that's for overseas transfers too. I think interleague, I don't think there's no
limitation there. Okay. Yeah. I tell you, it's tough to keep up with all this stuff. We need Ken to pop in as a little Siri helper or something on this stuff. But yeah, it's crazy. I mean, this is a kid who, just graduated from college, or didn't graduate, just got drafted from college 2 years ago. He's been playing on a team that hasn't done well. He's gotten, he got missed on the, what was it? The U23 World Cup or U20 World Cup or whatever it was. Yeah. And then, he had kind of a look for a January U.S. men's national team camp that he missed because of COVID. And, I mean, he's not been a staple on the U.S. men's national team roster. He's getting looks, but he's not been that, like a solid win. And he's playing for, I hate to say it, the worst team in the league. So he looks great, but, maybe we take the money while he looks great and, kind of move on. So it is a selling league, right?
Yeah. And it's unfortunate. I mean, he just had that call up. I want to say there at the end of 2020, got that call up down in Orlando with the MLSers down there. And unfortunately got COVID and ultimately didn't get a chance to play with the U.S. men's national team in that friendly. I can't remember who it was against, but he was called up, but unfortunately missed that opportunity. I mean, look, they have so many needs in a lot of different spots. $1 million GAM, Mike, would have done wonders.
$1 million GAM, thank you, ma'am. And like we're all saying, I've lost track with some of the rules of GAM, TAM, and SAM, and I'm sure they'll come out with new acronyms for 2021 at the new CBA. But I think with better players around Frankie, we could see some of that upside and that potential that we keep talking about really start to come to fruition. When you're a young player and you have better players, when you have anybody but Sim DeYoung on the field, let's just call spade a spade, anybody but that guy on the field, when you can pass it to him and there's the potential for them to make an actual impact, like score a goal, that makes a big difference. We could actually see numbers from Frankie in terms of assists, and even in terms of goals. That's what I'm looking for Frankie. If FC Cincinnati, which I think they should keep him, that is now what you're banking on. It is no longer good enough for us to sit here and talk about Frankie and potential. And when you're getting looks for the U.S. national team, that puts you in a different conversation. Now you've got to start being that guy who, after you've got 2 years in the bucket, now can you be the guy who evolves and becomes the main man in the middle, an impact player in big games or small games. I mean, there isn't any small games, but mundane games. Can you be the guy who supplies the goods in the middle of the park? Because if the team is going to pass up on $1 million in GAM, you better produce. And that's the responsibility that the team will be saying is, hey, we believe in this guy. We believe in Frankie that much. And talking with some people close to the team, they are very high on Frankie. So I would be shocked if they take this deal. I could see FC Cincinnati looking long-term for a kid who's solid. When he has a bad game, he's still solid. He's going to work his butt off. He's great in transition. I mean, they had him playing out of position as a 6. So he's got something up here where he's adaptable, where he can read the game, and he's going to give you work ethic. And now it's being under Yapstam, having better players. How does he play with someone who's more mobile, like a Camo? How does him, Camo, and Harris, now that they've had a little bit of a run of games, how do they combine? And how does he play with actual wingers? And will we see the ever begging question, will we see the big engine who can we actually see him score a damn goal? Jurgen Locadia. Are we going to see him actually put one in the back of the net instead of put one in Rosie, the new stadium? So a lot of questions that come with this move, but I think FC Cincinnati should keep him.
What do we do if we bring in that 10 though, right? We keep talking about wanting a 10. Right. So we get a 10. Let's say we had signed Papu, right? Right. We throw the big dollars down. He's coming to Cincinnati. He's going to play. Right. So now you've got the 6 and the 8 role, and we've got Harris, Cruz, Makocha. We got Frankie. We got 4 guys back there to take 2 spots. So who doesn't get time? And I think that's the issue we have. I mean, we have to be very aware that, he may be a great player. But he's not a great player if he sits on the bench, and money's money. So it may solve a problem for us. Nobody's asking to buy Cruz right now that I'm aware of. So anyway,
that's a good question, Bill. Because right now, I mean, if they're
beating up on comments, aren't I? People hate me right now. I can tell.
No, no. The big thing is. Even amongst us here at Cincinnati Soccer Talk, even discussing it this afternoon, half of us were sell, half of us were buy. Or when I say buy, I mean stay.
Yeah.
Look, his Generation Adidas contract, or the Generation Adidas portion, runs out this year. This is year 3. And so after this year, maybe even later this summer, maybe. And again, I'm purely speculating here. I don't know what kind of transfer fee he could command. I think Brendan Aronson from Philly got $6 million to go over to Salzburg. I'm not saying Frankie Amaya is going to command $6 million, but what if FC Cincinnati were to sell him for $3 million? At that point, is it worth passing up $1 million GAM? I don't know. That's where I wish Ken was here. Ken, you're right. I think anytime we say demand better, we should just get a little pop-up video with Ken answering us. I'm with you there, Bill.
Can it be like Clippy?
Clippy. I knew you were going to go Microsoft on me.
Yeah.
I see you're going to try to sell somebody for GAM. Do you need some help with that? And then a little image of Ken pops up.
Yes.
Oh,
so
we
love
to Clippy, by the way.
Yeah. You're preaching to the choir there. We'd love to know your thoughts, though, FCC fans. Hit us up, feedback@CincinnatiSoccerTalk.com. Full credit where credit is due. Sam and Jeff and Paul, they are good. They know their stuff. I know a couple weeks ago when I hosted the show, I think we got burned a little bit by one Tim Parker. But Sam and Paul and Jeff, they've got some pretty darn good sources. So the fact that they were able to report this today was pretty eye-opening. So again, love to get your feedback at CincinnatiSoccerTalk.com. We'll wrap up the show with a little supporters group stuff. It just so happens that we've got 2 guys involved with both of their supporters groups, Jeff with DI, DNH, and Bill with the Pride. Both organizations putting out a statement today in regards to Let Them Play, which is I guess a league-wide movement amongst the International Supporters Council. Am I getting that
Independent.
Independent. It was a 50-50 shot. So Bill, why don't you tell folks what Let Them Play is and how the Pride is involved? And Jeff, we can let you touch on that as well.
So just backing up just a little bit, obviously, we're all pretty much aware, MLS and the what do you call it, the Players Union are in discussion, right? We talked about this at the beginning of the show. There's been, I would say, some pretty harsh rhetoric from MLS, kind of saying, come to an agreement really fast, or we're just going to lock you out. No practicing, no nothing, which I think is got a lot of people concerned. I think for good reason. And the Independent Supporters Council, which is an organization where all the supporters councils around the league can become members, and then they're sort of represented as a whole. So it's kind of like the union of the supporters groups, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes
right.
sense.
Yeah, right. A single voice. Though, we have so many different supporters groups from different parts of the United States, and obviously with even different, types of members. So, it's hard to come up with a single voice, but I think they did a decent job of trying to play it somewhat neutral, just to say that, I think it's time for us to step up as fans and let everyone know that we don't want to lock out. Right. And I think that's the main message, right? Let them play. We don't want to lock out. We want this to continue. Obviously, as supporters, typically we fall, all of us fall on the side of the fans, or sorry, of the players. So that's kind of the leaning of this. And there's definitely some rhetoric in the Independent Supporters Council's message, their own internal message, or not internal message, the one that they put out themselves, kind of leaning a little bit towards the players. But then they left it up to every individual supporters group to talk about their own,
Craft their own message.
Yeah, craft their own message, based on their own market, their own demographics, their own fan base, and then what they, how they felt within their own market as far as the front office and the players, what made sense. And I think that was nice that they didn't try to force a specific message down every supporters group's throat, but they did kind of organize this, which was really nice. They kind of planned it over the weekend, and then they asked that every supporters group this today put out a message. So they released the Independent Supporters Council released their own message at 10 a.m. And then they asked that every supporters group follow up in the following hours based on their time zone. So 11 a.m. was Eastern, and then it just followed every hour after that. So, Pride, Die Innenstadt, Hangar 937, I think those were the only three kind of for the FC Cincinnati market came out with their messages that they promoted at that time. And I'll get Jeff on here soon to speak on Die Innenstadt's behalf. But I guess I'll represent Pride in saying that, we tried to tone down, I think, the rhetoric a little bit on our side, away from where the Independent Supporters Council went. Our feeling was that we really did believe in the message, let them play, that we think soccer, in fact, Subes, you said it earlier in the opening segments of this podcast, and I was almost like, well, literally you just almost read our message back. But, soccer is important, right? It's important to the community. It's a tough time right now with COVID. It's a tough time with people as far as work and their mental health, and soccer does so much to bring people together and give positive feelings to people and outlets that they need. And we really need this. I think, especially after last season being kind of a weird season, I think, with our new stadium opening, we need soccer, and we need something to happen. So to have the season not happen or to be significantly delayed is detrimental to our community and to our fans and as people. So that was our big message. We're not trying to get into the middle of who's right or who's wrong or which side we're on. There's a lot of moving parts going on between what MLS and the ownership are dealing with and what the players are dealing with. And we're not going to try to pretend to understand it fully. I think, there's certainly different sides to this. I don't want to try to get into details now, but mostly stepping away from, pointing fingers and saying somebody's right or wrong, but like these guys need to be able to work this out, and they can. There's no reason they can't. And I think that's the main message from us right now is please work this out. Go to the table and talk until you guys figure this out. But come February 22nd, let's put our cleats on and let's get started.
Hop in there, Jeff. You got anything to add?
I mean, basically from, I think our perspective, from Dean and Stout, a lot of us, I think, have our hearts in terms of the players. You know, we have charities that have raised monies, to provide shoes for some of the groups in Withrow High School. And so I think over the past year as well, you had, you know, in the 2019 season, you had the whole, I'm trying to put this as gently as possible, the whole anti-iron front thing, the three the three arrows. Dean and Stott was sort of, I think, key in terms of wanting to make it, you know, a voice known that this is what we stand for, and supporting the players is what we stand for. When the whole Black Lives Matters movement came out, even though we weren't able to go to a lot of these games, we had a lot of people within our circles who were very passionate about supporting the players through that. And so we took that stance as well, knowing that the players have sacrificed quite a bit over the past year plus, and really that my opinion, I think, maybe stands out a little bit more than the groups, but that they deserve, I think, that they deserve to be recognized. They're bleeding out in the fields. They're putting a lot of themselves to go play these games, and who knows how far away they are from the people that love them. So I think we stood on the side of that. We want soccer back, and we feel that supporting the players and working out a deal that helps them out is what's best for the group. Now, I think people will agree to disagree on this, but I'm hoping that in the end, we all agree that we need soccer back on this field.
Yes.
Here.
We need soccer back in the Queen City as quickly as we possibly can. This is, look, you've just spent millions of dollars on a beautiful stadium downtown. You've built the Mercy Hill Training Center. Like, it just would be a shame for us to not have games. Look, these two sides have negotiated. They did it a year ago. They can do it again. So I'm hoping that a lockout is avoided. Right now, I know that they extended the deadline from last week to this week. Why? I don't see why they couldn't do another extension. We'll see. I hope that everybody can agree, and in the words of the ISC, let them play. By the way, it could be international, Bill. You got Vancouver and Montreal and Toronto. There are some international supporters groups up there too.
It's all good.
Yeah. Anyway, appreciate both of you for bringing your knowledge on the subject. I know you're both involved on both boards, so really cool for you guys to do that here today. Don't forget, we are live each and every Monday night right here on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. So if you want to check us out live and see our beautiful faces on camera, make sure you do that every 9 o'clock on Monday nights. But of course, if you miss the live show, you can always download the audio over on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. And while you're there, why don't you leave a rating and review on Apple Podcasts? It really does go a long way in helping us out so that the podcast can be found amongst the many soccer podcasts that are out there over at Apple Podcasts. So make sure you check that out. CincinnatiSoccerTalk.com/Apple Podcasts. Let's wrap things up, shall we? Usually I go with Michael last, but I'm going to have him start first because, Mike, you had a big announcement since the last time you were on the show, man. We've already got Coach Brad Goff on our show, but now we can call you Coach Michael LaHood. Tell us about it.
Yeah, I am officially a coach. I'm an assistant coach at Trinity University. I'm really excited about it. I'm very passionate about broadcasting and media, and I love CST and just all the skill sets and just being able to talk about the game. And one thing that I've also been really passionate about is mentoring and investing in the next generation of footballers and soccer players in this country. And so being able to work with Trinity University, it not only gives me a different perspective in terms of analyzing the game for stuff like this and CST, but it really allows me to pay it forward. And there's a code that while I was a player that some of my mentors always told me, which was pay it forward and pass on everything that was given to you to the next generation. So I feel very blessed to be able to have this opportunity with Trinity. And, we have our first scrimmage of the weekend against St. Mary's here in San Antonio. So I'm looking forward to it. But, I'm trying to figure out who I want to coach like. And right now, the leading go-getter is Coach Ted Lasso. So
Nice.
I'm trying over here, doing my best. So we'll see how that works out this Saturday.
Oh, you talk about positive, man. Oh, that's a good one. So Trinity University, it's what is it, Division III?
Yep, D3. They're a D3 powerhouse. So Coach Paul McGinley, he's created an amazing program. And Trinity, it's every week that I've been on campus, and every time I go there to take in and really the sites and learn the university more, learn the tradition, learn the program, I'm just blown away. The field is immaculate. It's the real deal, and it's up there with D1 programs in terms of the resources and access to different things. And they've been nothing but generous and welcoming with the athletic department and the community. It's been really significant, in my stay here in San Antonio, in my post-career life. So I'm looking to grow and hoping to get some dubs this spring with the guys.
Josh Godby on Facebook. It says, Coach LaHood, the next Sir Alex. It's got a nice ring to it, doesn't it?
Yeah, hopefully we can win the treble with Trinity. So the preseason championship, the regular season championship, and the tournament, the conference tournament this spring. So if we win the treble, then Subs, you get to dub me Sir LaHood.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, you got to do that first.
Yeah, a lot of ifs.
I've got a sword you can borrow.
Yeah. Are the games televised?
Yeah, I'll be able to send it out, but there's a network that Trinity has called the Tiger Network.
Okay.
And so all the games are broadcast live, and I'm excited about it because I'll be able to call some of the games and also coach. So
they're going to let you do both.
Yeah, all-purpose yards.
Wow.
Trying to get my flex on. So
nice.
Yeah, I'm just really excited to be part of the Trinity family, and I just want the program to help them succeed and get back to winning ways. I mean, they're a powerhouse in D3, and Coach McGinley, I've known him through the years, and he was actually there when I got drafted. So,
oh wow,
yeah. So we go back, and it's organic how everything is unfolded, and hopefully that leads to an organic championship or two.
Well, congrats.
I'm excited to hear Michael call a goal now.
Yeah, I'm still trying to find my goal call voice.
Yeah.
I think I found, I'm tinkering with some, but I think I found something that happened just off the cuff when I was calling a Longhorn Network game. And it was when UT put a touchdown on, I think, Kansas State. And the seventh goal, I legitimately jumped up, almost hit my head on the kind of one of the lights that was hanging above, and the words that came out of my mouth was, I think, something to the effect of, "She absolutely cannonballed that." So I was like, "Did I just say cannonball?" I guess I did.
There's your catchphrase now. Got it.
Yeah, cannonball.
Very nice. Well, we're all again pulling for you. So happy for you again on this next journey. Because I know how passionate you are about the sport, and of course passionate about paying it forward. And you and I have had many conversations about that off the air about that. So really excited for you, and congrats again, buddy.
Thank you very much.
All right, Jeff, you survived your first episode of Cincinnati Soccer Talk. Got any final thoughts as we wrap up?
Yeah, I think maybe just got to mention, I think the U.S. men's team playing against Trinidad and Tobago last night.
A touchdown.
Oh, it was good to see. I know that we were sort of like, oh, he's offsides. There were a lot in this game. But I mean, it was great to see some of the youngsters. Sam Vines really impressed me right away. Great to see Matt Turner getting his cap and saving that penalty kick. This is the future of our sport, and we've got to support it. Whether it's a meaningless 7-0 game against the team that had to really, I think, whittle together their offense, or if it's the octagonal against Mexico, we have to support them, and hopefully this is a sign of better things to come.
Yeah, 7-0. That was what they dubbed Camp Cupcake, but they went down. They took care of business. I mean, it was early. I think they scored in the first 2 minutes.
And there were a few USL 1 players out there on Trinidad and Tobago. So I mean, you've got pros there.
Yeah. Well, Jeff, as always, appreciate you being on the show. Welcome, and looking forward to the next one, buddy.
Thank you. Let's go Cyclones.
Yeah, you got some love tonight from Brian Weigel, loving your hat. So you chose wisely, bud. All right. Last but certainly not least, the Wolfman. Bill, final thoughts?
Yeah. I guess I'd like to just sort of reflect on everything going on right now a little bit and say, it's been nice to see in the news lately, COVID numbers dropping. Obviously, what was it, sort of pre-Thanksgiving, pre-Christmas, pre-New Year's. We just kept seeing them go up. It's been a pretty disappointing and depressing climb of numbers, and obviously, behind those numbers are real losses. So to see the U.S. getting some control over this again, certainly the numbers are still very high, but to see the trend going down is encouraging to me. Obviously, as a soccer fan, I want to see those numbers going down because I want to see games and I want to see fans in stadiums. I don't know what that's going to look like in 2021, whether that's 10% capacity or 25% capacity or where things go. But obviously, we need to get control over this before we can let them play. So I'm glad to see some positivity, and I'm, still looking forward to the stadium. It's kind of exciting to hear all the changes going on and all the motions going forward there. We declared all of our beer vendors and beer styles, and we've got our local restaurants there. So it's great to see West End Stadium kind of reflecting a lot of that local beer and food. And let's hope that we all can go there and enjoy some of it this coming season. And let's keep doing what we're doing, hopefully to improve. And let's hope the vaccine rollouts continue to improve, and let's get back to normal and see some cannonballs.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Bill, but I believe on that list of vendors I saw in that release from the club that Skyline Chili was on that list. Is that correct?
It is. I actually think it was pretty much the same vendors we had in Nippert. We had Skyline there, right? We had La Rosa's there.
Say it again.
We had Skyline there, and La Rosa's and Skyline, and Frisch's and Skyline.
I know how much people love us talking about Skyline. Yeah.
So I don't know that we had Wings and Rings in Nippert. I know they were a big sponsor, but I think that they do have a Wings and Rings coming in West End Stadium. So I think
like that too.
It's one addition. So yeah, wings and burgers and Skyline and pizza, right? So it's all
Skyline.
good.
Love it.
You guys are still going to have to sell me on Skyline. I'm not quite there yet.
Oh, and that's when we wrap up the show. So everybody, thanks for tuning in tonight. And,
wow, fired already.
That was a quick hook for Jeff. Wow. Anyway, again, we know you're from the Northeast, so you're we get it. We'll quickly move on. Thank you to Calvin Harris for joining us here on Cincinnati Soccer Talk this week. Thank you for listening and downloading and watching us live. We appreciate it. For Bill Wolf, for Jeff Tebbets, and Mike LaHood, I am Subs reminding you to watch your tackles, and we'll see you all next week.